Imagine building one of the most powerful empires the ancient world had ever seen, then vanishing almost overnight as if you'd never existed at all. Picture a civilization so influential, so advanced, that its fingerprints are everywhere, yet for centuries no one even knew it was real. For centuries, the Hittites were so thoroughly erased from history that scholars thought they were just a biblical myth, a name whispered in ancient texts but never confirmed by evidence. It's as if the Roman Empire disappeared, leaving behind only a few cryptic mentions in other people's records. No Colosseum, no roads, just rumors and fragments. The Hittites ruled much of what is now Turkey for 5 centuries, longer than the United States has existed. Their reach stretched across Anatolia, shaping the destiny of the ancient Near East. They built monumental cities, developed complex laws, and spoke a language lost to time. Their innovations in government, warfare, and diplomacy set them apart from their rivals. For ages, all we had were scattered Old Testament references, easy to dismiss as legend. The Hittites became a ghost story, a footnote in the margins of history books. But in the late 1800s, archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Hattusa, massive walls, grand temples, and thousands of clay tablets. Suddenly the lost empire began to take shape before our eyes. Suddenly the Hittites were real, an empire hiding in plain sight, their stories buried for 3,000 years. Each artifact unearthed was a piece of a puzzle no one knew existed. Their rediscovery rewrote history, revealing a superpower that rivaled Egypt and Babylon, then pulled off the greatest disappearing act of the Bronze Age. The Hittites were not just players, they were power brokers, shaping the fate of empires. The Hittites remind us that history is full of secrets, and sometimes the biggest empires leave behind the most intriguing mysteries. Their sudden disappearance still baffles historians and archaeologists alike. Their story is a cold case thousands of years old, and we're still piecing together the clues, one discovery at a time, hoping to finally understand how such a mighty civilization could simply vanish into the shadows of history. So, who exactly were the Hittites and why do they matter in the story of ancient Anatolia? They weren't native to Anatolia. They were Indo-European newcomers who arrived around 2000 BCE, journeying from the distant steppes and bringing with them new languages, ideas, and technologies. The region already had a sophisticated culture, the Hattians with their own gods, rituals, and traditions. But the Hittites didn't just conquer, they merged, adopting local gods and customs, and even borrowing myths and ceremonies. This blend created a unique hybrid culture, part local, part foreign, where old and new coexisted and flourished together. Their capital, Hattusa, was a fortress city with 4 miles of double walls and the iconic Lion Gate, a clear message to friend and foe alike, don't mess with us. The city was a marvel of ancient engineering with temples, palaces, and storerooms. The king was more CEO than God-king, checked by a council of nobles called the Pancus, an early form of parliament that helped balance power and prevent tyranny. Their bureaucracy and legal system were advanced, favoring restitution over brutal punishment. Laws were written down, and justice was often about making things right, not just inflicting pain. If you stole a cow, you paid a fine, not with your hand, but with silver. This practical approach to justice reflected their focus on stability and fairness. This pragmatic system kept order and stability, showing a society built to last, where cooperation and adaptation were key to survival. The Hittites' real genius was adaptation. They borrowed, improved, and innovated at every turn, from chariot technology to metallurgy, always seeking better ways to thrive. They weren't just conquerors, they were master builders of civilization, leaving behind cities, laws, and stories that would echo through history. Their legacy was a pragmatic, resilient society that thrived for centuries, shaping the destiny of Anatolia and influencing the world far beyond their time. The Hittites' military might was legendary, and their war chariot was their secret weapon. Unlike the lighter Egyptian chariots, Hittite chariots were heavy, stable, and carried 3 men, a driver, a shield-bearer, and a spearman. This design turned chariots into mobile assault platforms, smashing through enemy lines in shock and awe charges. Their tactical edge let them conquer territory from the Aegean to the Euphrates. But it wasn't just about chariots. The Hittites mastered logistics, supply lines, and professional armies. Kings like Hattusili I led from the front, expanding the empire through relentless campaigns. The Hittites were also early pioneers of ironworking, giving them a technological edge over their bronze-armed rivals. Iron was harder, more plentiful, and a closely guarded state secret. Their control of this new metal made them the gatekeepers of the next era in human history. The Hittites' blend of innovation and strategy made them a true superpower. To grasp Hittite power, look no further than the Battle of Kadesh, the ancient world's Super Bowl. In 1274 BCE, the Hittites under Muwatalli II faced Egypt's Ramesses II for control of Syria. It was the largest chariot battle ever, with up to 6,000 chariots thundering across the field. The Hittites used deception, luring the Egyptians into a trap and nearly destroying them. Ramesses claimed a miraculous comeback, but Hittite records tell of a bloody stalemate. In truth, neither side won decisively. Ramesses retreated, the Hittites held the territory. The battle proved both empires were equals, but neither could conquer the other. The cost was so high that it forced a new approach: diplomacy over endless war. Kadesh became a turning point, showing that even superpowers had limits. The Hittites had matched Egypt blow for blow, and changed the rules of the game. What followed would make history. After Kadesh, both empires realized war was futile, and a new threat, the Assyrians, loomed. In 1258 BCE, Ramesses II and Hattusili III signed the Treaty of Kadesh, the world's first known peace treaty. It established borders, mutual defense, and extradition of fugitives, an ancient version of NATO. The treaty was sanctified by the gods of both nations, giving it lasting authority. Two versions survive, one in Egyptian hieroglyphs, one in Akkadian cuneiform. Today, a replica hangs at the United Nations, a 3,200-year-old symbol of diplomacy. The Hittites proved that peace could be as powerful as war. Life in Hattusa was a tapestry of religion, law, and daily routine. The Hittites worshipped 1,000 gods, adopting deities from every culture they encountered, a clever way to unify their diverse subjects. The king was high priest, responsible for keeping the gods happy through endless rituals. If disaster struck, it was seen as a failure to appease the divine. Their legal code, preserved on clay tablets, was surprisingly humane. Most crimes were punished with fines, not mutilation. This focus on restitution over retribution kept society stable and fair. Hattusa itself was a marvel, divided into upper and lower cities with grand temples and a fortified royal citadel. From here, the king and his scribes managed a vast empire, issuing decrees and conducting diplomacy. The city's stone lions watched over a society that balanced order, faith, and innovation. The Hittites' daily life was as advanced as their politics. One of the Hittites' greatest mysteries was their language. Their clay tablets used cuneiform, but the language was unknown, until Czech scholar Bedřich Hrozný cracked the code in 1915. He realized Hittite was Indo-European, related to English, Greek, and Hindi, the oldest such language ever found. This discovery rewrote linguistic history, proving Indo-Europeans reached Anatolia far earlier than thought. The Hittites wrote in several languages, but their own, Nesaita, was their unique voice. Their tablets reveal myths, laws, prayers, royal letters, and even horse training manuals. We can read their stories in their own words, from epic battles to daily life. Thanks to Hrozný, the Hittites are no longer silent. They speak to us across millennia. Their language is a direct link to the ancient world's lost chapter. The Hittites' words have finally been heard. For 5 centuries, the Hittites stood as a pillar of power in the ancient world, ruling vast lands, forging alliances, and shaping the course of history in Anatolia and beyond. Then, around 1178 BCE, everything changed. The mighty Hittite Empire, once bustling with life and culture, suddenly collapsed. Hattusa, their grand capital, was sacked and burned to the ground. The royal records, once meticulously kept, abruptly stopped, and the empire seemed to vanish almost overnight, leaving behind only silence and shattered stones. This was not an isolated tragedy, it was part of the wider Late Bronze Age collapse, a time when many of the world's greatest civilizations fell in rapid succession. So what happened to cause such widespread disaster? It was a perfect storm. Mysterious sea peoples invaded from the Mediterranean. Internal rebellions erupted within the empire, and climate change brought devastating drought. Famine swept the land, weakening the population, undermining the king's authority, and sparking unrest in every corner. Trade networks that once connected distant lands broke down, cutting off vital supplies of bronze and crippling the military's ability to defend the realm. The empire fractured from within, as unity gave way to chaos and division. Meanwhile, enemies pressed in from all sides, taking advantage of the turmoil. In the end, the Hittites simply couldn't survive so many overlapping crises at once. Their sudden disappearance remains one of history's greatest mysteries, still puzzling scholars today. The mighty empire was gone, its cities left in ruins, leaving only scattered artifacts, weathered inscriptions, and endless questions for future generations. But the story of the Hittites didn't end with their fall. Their influence lingered on, echoing through the ages. Today, scholars study their tablets and artifacts, piecing together the lost world of the Hittites and uncovering their secrets. Their innovations in technology, warfare, and diplomacy helped shape the world that followed, ensuring the Hittites' legacy would echo long after their fall. After Hattusa fell, the Hittites didn't vanish. They splintered into smaller kingdoms that survived for centuries. Their memory faded into legend, but their ideas endured. The Treaty of Kadesh became a blueprint for modern diplomacy, negotiation, borders, and collective security. Their legal system focused on restitution, influenced justice systems worldwide. Every time a court orders compensation, it echoes Hittite law. The Hittites were innovators in warfare, technology, and peace. Their rediscovery reminds us that history is always being rewritten. They didn't just build an empire, they helped build the foundations of ours.